And we're live on YouTube. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the iPhoneography podcast. My name is Greg McMillan. I am here with my good friend Dave Podner. There he
How's
is. Hey, Dave.
Hey, Sam. Hey, Greg. How's it going today?
It's going really well. Um,
Always good to
Tonight,
hear.
yeah, and you're good to hear. We got you in the
Ah,
mix.
and I do have to thank you for this as Greg has supplied me with a new microphone.
Yeah, it matches mine. So hopefully, I'll know better when I hear the audio back. But hopefully, everything will sound very similar, and we're working on making this a little better listening experience for everybody.
Mhm.
So hopefully it helps, and I'll know,
And
like I say, I'll know
definitely, and at
better.
least helps keep everything, like you said, balanced.
Yeah,
Also, the
yeah,
microphone I got was one I got when I joined the Tiny Shutter group
yep,
uh, back in 2017.
yeah, yeah.
So,
And I still got mine on a shelf.
yeah,
The one that I
yeah.
got, it was the same as yours, and they're not a bad microphone, but uh, a dear fellow in Australia named Ralph Mayhew has a YouTube channel, and he reviewed this microphone, the one that we're using. And wow, I couldn't believe how well it worked, in the different,
Hmm.
um, different rooms that he tried it in his house, and it was really, really good. So that was enough to sell me on it. So I went and got one, well, probably about a year ago now. And I thought a couple of weeks ago, what the heck? I got to get you one of these, and so here we are.
Very much
We're
appreciated.
Well, you're quite welcome. Um, Tonight we're going to talk about. Okay, so roll with me on this one, Dave. I like shooting my pets. Don't you like shooting your pets?
Oh, I love shooting the pets. All the pets.
Yes. Oh, it's so much fun to shoot the pets. And of course, we're not talking about literally shooting them. We're talking about
No.
getting pictures of them. So we're going to talk about some pet photography. Um, and using the iPhone is probably the simplest and best way to do this because it's quick, it's easy. I mean, everybody knows that. Um, and all you need is, maybe some good lighting, and some patience, and some tricks to capture your pet's personality. So we're going to give you some tips on if you've never taken pictures of your pets, or I mean, anybody that has a pet has probably taken pictures of them. But we're just gonna see what we could do to, enhance that, experience.
Mhm.
So, we got a bunch of things on a list here we're gonna go through, and, I guess the first one is get on their level, you know?
Yeah.
Get down on the ground if your dog or your cat or whatever you could have an iguana, I don't know. If it's, on the lawn, say, outside in the yard, get down on their level, go eye level with the pet, and, you know, it 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 shows a sense of engagement with the animal, and gets on a more personal, personal level with the pet. So, um, that's one of the things that I would recommend. Any thoughts on that part of it, Dave, getting on their level?
Well, and you don't necessarily, depending on the pet you have, you don't necessarily have to get down to their level.
Right.
Because
Just
like
get on their level, I guess.
right. Because like our cats, we have a cat tree, and the cat tree is 7 feet tall. So especially the little one loves to climb. She's a kitten, she's not even 6 months old. She'll go up to the very, very tippy top and be above my eye level. Or, I'll sometimes have multiple, I'll have both, let's say, Rosie and Daisy on the cat tree together, and they're at my level. So that makes it a lot easier to get photos. Also, imagine taking photos of people. And if you're always taking a photo from the top down where someone's having to crane their head up, it just doesn't look good. And I understand getting down on a level, depending on your mobility, can be an issue. So there's ways you can work around that. Because remember, the further away you are, the less you have to be on their level to get that angle down. So that may help if they're on a hill or, on a couch. If you let your pets be on a couch, I don't know how people keep them off of furniture, to be honest. Ours have free reign of the house. So,
Yeah, our pets own us. We don't
yeah,
own them.
come here, Leo.
Yeah, so, you know, I think you're right about, the distance you are from the pet, it kind of makes a difference in the angle that
Hmm.
you have to be at. You can be, with the 15 Pro Max with that 120 millimeter
Hmm.
telephoto lens, you can be quite a ways away and still get a pretty decent shot.
Oh, yeah.
Of your pet and not have to worry about being too high or too low because
Right.
that kind of distance, it compresses the image and
Hmm.
makes for a good image.
Yeah.
Um, you want to cover the next one there?
Sure, sure. And that's use natural lighting. Um, you know, Natural lighting is the best. I would say not just for pet photography, but for all photography in general. Sometimes like we're recording 9 o'clock at night. It's mid-August or almost mid-August. So there's no natural lighting right now. So obviously, if you're taking pictures at night or indoors, try to get as natural as possible. And it does say avoid using flash. Now, I have had to use flash because I saw the cats doing something exceptionally cute, and it was so dark that night mode didn't work per se. Even the flash where it gives you that pre-flash and it takes a picture and it tries to adjust it, you still have night glare, the night shine in their eyes. And it just kind of, they see that flash and they just kind of go, what's happening here? That doesn't look right. So, definitely don't use a flash. I think we both can agree on that. And the other thing is just be try to keep the lighting as natural as possible.
Yeah.
There are
Yeah.
times if you want to get artistic and you want a very dramatic lighting or a backlighting per se,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
but for general photography that you're like, here's the cute puppy, here's the cute kitten, try natural is probably the best thing you can do to just get that lighting as best as possible.
Yeah, yeah, I'm a real proponent of natural lighting in any kind of photography that I do, whether it's macro, landscape, pets, people, whatever. I've just never been a real fan of flash photography, even when I had my DSLR. So yeah, I
Yeah,
think
and,
I
and
think
especially
natural
with,
lighting is definitely the way to go.
yeah, and the flash on the iPhone, they keep trying to make it better. One thing to remember is it's still tiny.
Yeah,
It's tiny and it's right next to the camera. So you're not dealing with, if you're doing portraits, you have the flash off camera, probably in a big reflector that looks like an umbrella. So you're getting diffuse light. You're getting not you're as color correct as possible. So you're not getting a weird glow to it. And it's really hard to I'm not saying Apple, Samsung, they don't try. They do try, but physics. There's only so much you can do.
yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you know, flash will work in a pinch, but I mean,
No. Yeah.
definitely try to avoid it. Um, the next point is, excuse me, focus on the eyes. Now that goes with anything that you're taking a picture of that is a sentient being, whether it's a person, a pet, dog, cat, even bugs in macro work. Um, I mentioned it in the book. iPhone photography, focusing on macro. Focus on the eyes of whatever you're taking a picture of, and the one that's closest to the camera. If there's an angle involved, focus on the eye that's closest to the camera. Um, all you have to do is get your composition in place and then tap to focus on that eye, and you're golden. Uh, I think you'll just notice that you'll see that it's just going to be a better picture all around. Um, One thing, I think the only instance that I can think of where you might not necessarily want to, or you could play around with this, is if you got like your ultra wide and you're right up close to your dog's nose or cat's nose,
Mhm.
um, and you could focus the on the nose itself, and knock the eyes out of focus, and it could still work because you're going for that real funky look, that real weird angle, uh, or that real distorted look in the image. So uh, I would say try it both ways. Try focusing on the eyes like that, blur the
Mhm.
nose, even though it's right there, front and center in the image, or try tapping to focus on the nose itself, and then see what happens. I've seen it work both ways, so uh,
I
you never
mean,
know.
yeah, and then one nice thing about how quick the iPhone can adjust is that you can take the one picture, quickly hit it, and take another picture. So you
Yeah.
can focus on one area, get it, take your photo, focus on there without the animal moving much. Because a lot of times you have that image you want, and it's still an issue with just taking that extra second can cause some issues with getting the next photo or getting that photo that you see.
Yeah. Yeah. Timing is everything. I'm not sure if that's on our list or not, but if it isn't, it could be.
Well, it's kind of
um,
combined with and honestly, I want to combine the next two
yeah.
points here,
Yeah. I
points
was
4 and
gonna
5.
kind of suggest that because they kind of go almost
Mhm.
hand in hand here.
And saying to use either, I would say, because you have to do either or, burst mode or live photos. Burst mode's really good because it does take you don't have to just hit that perfect second for timing. But you're basically getting a bunch of photos, boom, 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 boom. Um, or live photos. Now, I just keep everything on live photos. Um, Either way, you're giving yourself a buffer where if you miss it by a half a second one way or the other, you have that, oh, with burst mode, oh, well, I took 30 photos, you know, and the one that showed, it wasn't quite there, but the one 10 photos away, that's the pose I want. Or live photos where you can say, you know what, I wanted an extra second before or after because of movement. And then you can select that and move that and then select that photo. So it gives you that ability to, it kind of gives you, like I said, that margin of error when it comes to timing.
Yeah.
Now, I would say,
And oh, go ahead.
one thing I do get out of live photos that you don't get out of burst mode is the ability and either um, build into the Photos app or use the Google Motion Shot app to make a GIF out of it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I've used that before where you can, at least with the motion stills, I'm sorry, motion stills app it's called.
All right.
You can combine 2 or 3 live photos if you take them kind of close together, and it does a better job than Apple's built-in when it comes to framing and keeping your resolution, keeping your stability of that shot when it converts it into a GIF, or it'll do either a GIF or it'll do a video, and you can get a little bit of a flow going on. And that's one of the reasons I like live photos is that I can do that, and then like an animal let's say turns its head, you can get the turning head motion or like a tilting of the head or something's happening but you're getting that kind of, you know, reveal as an animal moves or middle of a jump.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can not only get the motion of the still image but you actually have a gif of the movement as it's as let's say, I remember Charlie jumped. He still does, but he jumped a lot more when he was younger. We got him like jumping off the couch midair.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's and the nice thing about so okay, so just to kind of mention the difference here, a live photo is a second and a half before and a second and a half after you actually take the shot, because it keeps it in a buffer, and you know, it's not saving anything until you hit that button. Um, but the difference is that's like a 3 second thing, but it's got audio as well. So if
Mhm,
you're looking at it on an iPhone or an iPad or a Mac, and you do whatever you have to do to see and hear it. That's cool. The burst mode can take up to, I think it's 600
mm,
shots in one burst. So if you are anticipating that your pet could do something like if you have a cat and it's getting ready to pounce, you could start taking a burst mode shot and get the whole sequence of the you know how they wiggle and everything else
mhm,
just before they jump. You can get all of that and the jump and everything else. You can get all that captured, and then go through and pick the ones that you like, and you can pick 2, 3, 5, whatever. If you got 100 shots, you could pick 50 of them if you want, and you can save them and then dump the rest. So
mhm.
there's very, very good use cases for both of those techniques, and this is a great time to be alive when it comes to iPhone photography,
Oh yeah.
because the capabilities of these things are crazy, crazy good. Um, so next we've got capture their personality. Um, like candid shots. Try
Mhm,
to capture your pet doing something they love, whether it's playing or even just sleeping, or uh, when it comes to cats, being curious. This will bring out their character in photos. So pretty much every pet will have a personality.
yeah.
Um, you know, uh, I'm sure Dave, your dogs have distinct characteristics
Oh,
that
most
every
definitely.
day you probably say, "Oh, okay, there he goes again," or
Mhm.
she's at it again, or something. Um, there's always something that they're going to do that can be captured, and uh, it can make a really cool and fun photo.
Oh yeah.
Um, any quirkiness that your pets have? Like, Leo likes to
Oh,
crash the podcast,
yes, he does. Yes, he does. One
but
thing I
Daisy's
find.
working on that too.
Oh, Daisy is, like I said, I know she's a kitten, but she's not afraid of anything. Um, and she thinks she's a dog. She
Oh,
fetches.
really?
She
Oh, yeah.
fetches.
Oh,
So
cool.
when we're playing fetch with Charlie with his toy, I'll throw it and she'll run after it too. And she won't return it or try to pick it up, but she'll run after the toy. And then Charlie runs after a toy, gets it. And sometimes, let's say they're going downstairs and she'll just start to like try going after the dog's back legs, like, play attacking them. So she literally has, there's no boundaries, there's no fear. Rosie's a similar way. Rosie's more of a cuddler than an attacker, but Rosie's also 11 years old.
Mhm,
She doesn't
yeah.
have the gump. Uh, and it's kind of, Rosie loves to cuddle. She, loves to be around. We're on the couch. She goes right behind my head and uses me as a rest and sleep.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like I said, this is one thing I kind of get annoyed at when people say cats are aloof and they can be, they can be, but you know, every animal has a personality, you
Oh, yeah.
know, and literally, and it's a little, and sometimes it's the little things, and you try to capture that because it's just their family,
Oh, they
for
sure
yeah,
are.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, when you were
Um,
talking about personality, I actually put a new photo in the chat. I don't know if you want to
oh,
show it
okay.
now. It's the one with the dogs and Daisy together looking in a box.
Let me see here. Oh, yes, I remember seeing that one.
Mhm.
That is hilarious, yeah.
So, I was playing fetch with the dogs, and they have small toys, they're not big dogs, so I threw the toy, it went into the box, and all 3 of them just gathered around the box to look into. Charlie's the one who kinda dipped in and got the toy, but, yeah, all
Yeah,
3 of them were like, "Oh, what's in the oh, that what's in there? It went in there. Oh, what's in that
yeah.
box
So
there?"
so for the YouTube video, I'm just holding it up in front of the camera, but it in the podcast app, there will be you'll be able to see it in the podcast app right now as you're listening. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Um, so that kinda runs into, not the next point, but the one after, so we'll skip point
Okay, we'll
7.
skip
We'll
7.
go to
Okay,
8, and then we'll come back to 7.
okay.
Um, and that is, you know, using treats or toys as lures or empty boxes. Hold a treat or a favorite toy near the camera, it gets your pet's attention, and it helps them look directly at the camera. I know sometimes okay, so one time, I forget how many years ago now it was, but with Hannah, our older dog, uh, I got I went to this friend's place who does pet portraiture,
Mm,
and I got her to do a portrait of Hannah, and I got it blown up and framed and everything else and gave it to my wife for her birthday one year. And I think we were probably there for about 2 hours. It could have been done in 20 minutes, but I mean, like I say, this was a friend. So we're sitting there talking away and chatting and everything else, and, um, Hannah is just she said Hannah was so easy to work with
mm,
that she just kept shooting, and then Hannah got into a play. She she got this squeaky toy and
mm,
started throwing it all over the living room and just got into a major play mode for about 20 minutes. And then when she calmed down, we got back to posing her and everything else.
mhm,
But Cindy, the photographer, she had these little squeaky toys, and she would just hold it
mhm,
right above the camera and squeak it. And then when my dog looked at it, bang, took a picture. And she got a lot of really, really good shots
mm.
doing it that way. So, toys, squeak toys, or sometimes if that doesn't work, I mean, definitely treats. Treats will work because you can just hold it up. They'll look at it, and while they're quite often they'll be patient enough to just sit there and look at it and hope to get it real soon, and then you can take the shot, and then you can give them the treat. I mean, there's a lot of different ways you could do that. Even with cats, I imagine it
Oh,
works
yeah.
with
Oh,
cats.
no, 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 it'll definitely, I like, even, snapping your fingers, or, just kinda putting your fingers together to get the attention and the movement that way. Um, our dogs are not that well patient, because if we go down and we have a treat out, they will not wait for the treat.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
will come right at you. Same thing with squeaky toy.
Oh, yeah.
If I get a squeaky toy and I squeak it, uh, Charlie will look at it and he'll get in position to try to get it.
Yeah.
So, but they're a trying to think. Oh, um, they're like mid age, but they're not. I know there are dogs that are real well behaved, and you can put like the food out, and they'll wait, and they'll just say like, "Okay, now you wait," and the dog just waits, and yeah, that not necessarily our dogs. They're not that, and it's on us. It's not on the dogs. When the dogs acts crazy, I don't blame the dogs
Oh,
because they're
no.
dogs. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
they're
same
just being
thing, same
themselves.
yeah. Yeah, same thing with the cats,
Yeah.
who I'm surrounded by right now.
Yeah. You almost look like you're panicking, waiting for something to happen.
Well, Leo was by me. Leo was by my feet, and Daisy just came up to Leo, and then she went a little kung fu on him. Both
Oh,
paws up in the air like this, and
oh
you
yeah.
know, she just wants to play. He doesn't necessarily want to play that much.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we have that with our dogs too, as everybody knows by now. Hopefully, if they've listened to the show, we've got another little dog,
hmm.
and she's a little silky terrier, Australian
Aw.
silky terrier, and she's only a year old, and
Mm,
just barely a year old. And so she's got a lot of play in her. And our older dog, Hannah, she's 12, but 12 and a half years old. So, a big age gap there.
mhm.
And Hannah will play for about 7 seconds and then she's done. Whereas the little one should just want to go, 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 go.
Mhm.
Um, so we'll skip back, or we'll cut back to the point number 7, which was
Yeah.
use portrait mode. Um,
Mhm.
you know, try to capture your pet doing something they. Oh no, wait, that's not the one.
Well, no,
There
I
we
would
go.
say with portrait mode though, um, now with the newest iPhone, it may detect you have a feature and put it into portrait mode. But more than
Yes.
likely, if you're going to do portrait mode, you're not going to have the buffer of a burst mode or live photos. So you're going to have to get lucky. And when they're calm and not moving and pose the way you want, hit portrait mode
Yeah.
for most of the
Um,
time. So and that will lead into another one, but this is one you need patience on, or you need a pet that has its attention somewhere else, and or also works good in not silhouette but a side pose where maybe the animal's looking at something off in a different direction, so it's not looking directly at you, so you don't have to worry about its moving its head or seeing you put up a camera and then all of a sudden it reacts to the phone in front of your face,
yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's I think the biggest thing with portrait mode. If you don't have one of the newer modeled phones, you have to deliberately put it in portrait mode for this to
Mhm.
work. But if you're going to use portrait mode, the biggest thing is, like you said, the the pet person, whatever you're taking a picture of in portrait mode, has to be very still for it to turn out really well. Because I know the slightest movement, even with a person, can make that, the mask that it makes,
Mhm.
the segmentation mask or whatever that it creates to separate the subject from the background or even a foreground. Sometimes that can fail a little bit and really make for a wonky looking picture. Um, so biggest thing about portrait mode is right along with our next point. Be patient.
Mhm.
Timing. Don't rush. Let your pet get comfortable with the camera. You know, uh, Sometimes the best shot happen when your pet is relaxed and natural. So if you got a young, like, okay, like our little dog, she's a young dog. I tried to get a good picture of her, but I have to be patient. And when she's excited, I have to do something to get her attention and go back to the squeaky toy or the treat or whatever,
Mhm.
um, to get her to calm down and you know just kind of look a little more natural rather than going all crazy. Uh, so you got to be patient.
Mhm.
We keep referring to dogs and cats. I think it's just because they're the most common types of pets, but I mean there are so many different types of pets
Oh
out
yeah.
there. People could have, an iguana,
Mhm.
even a snake. It doesn't, anything.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, some people have pet rats. or
Mhm.
raccoons or whatever. I was
Yeah.
just talking to my neighbor today. He knew somebody that had a pet skunk one time. They had the the smelly thing taken
The
out
glands
and
taken out. Yeah.
the glands, yeah, and
Mhm.
it made a great pet.
Mhm.
So you have to kind of be patient and kind of work with the animal um, in a way that makes them comfortable, and
Mhm.
you should have some pretty good success that way.
And I would say the more you take photos, the more they'll be used to it.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
that
for sure.
helps, that helps. So the first few times, if you're trying to take lots of pictures and, the dog or the cat or what, they get excited because you're doing something and you're moving around. They're like, "Why are you doing that? What's that in front of your face? What's going on here?" And if you do it enough, they'll get used to it and they'll calm down and, it won't be such of a big deal. And honestly, pictures of them sleeping,
Oh yeah.
because um especially Daisy, or our little girl, when she, like I said, she's a kitten, so when she's awake, she's awake. But when she passes out from like sleeping, passes out, she loves to do it right in front of Ruth's computer,
Oh yeah.
on the desk, right in front of her, right on the keyboard almost. Just kind of plop herself down. And you can get some great pictures of her, just all, or animals sleep in the weirdest contortionist positions possible.
Yeah.
You
Oh
know,
yeah.
dogs and cats, they both have a weird, she can sleep. We got a picture of her where her head's on the top of the couch and her body's kind of sliding, looks like it's sliding down the couch. She's like half off the couch, sliding down on the back, but she's kind of just stuck there.
Yeah.
And, it's like, "You're comfortable, cool." Or she's upside down with her head kind of curled on back on itself. So, just keep an eye out and see what's happening.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, our dogs, our older dog Hannah, she's famous for, if she's laying there sleeping, especially on her side, she'll put her front legs stretched out and they'll stay that way, bone straight for sometimes minutes upon minutes at a time.
Mhm,
And then if you touch them, then maybe they'll relax. Like it's kind of weird. But I think other dogs do that. Probably all dogs, maybe, I don't know. Even our new dog has done it
hmm,
a couple of times. But there's all kinds of
mhm.
instances where you can get a really cool picture of your pet when they're just relaxing and not necessarily playing hard and all that stuff. Um, so the next one, Dave.
Yeah. Next one is edit your photos. And again, this is another tip that's true for all photos, not just pet photos, because you can use the built-in photo editor. Adjust your contrast, your sharpness, Snapseed, Lightroom Mobile for more advanced editing, especially if there's challenging light issues, that can help out a lot. Um, and also, I would say there's other apps such as one I use, Photo Room, and one that Ruth uses, and I'm getting the name of it here, Pic Collage, where it can, yeah, I know it's built into the iPhone photos that it can pull out the subject, but
Yeah.
you can't make edits on what it pulls out. You're kind of stuck with whatever the machine learning determines is your subject. With those other two apps, you can actually edit what the cutout is. So,
Oh,
if an
cool.
animal's arms are crossed or on something, you can, add or remove things to it. So you can actually, if you have a picture of your pet and it's on something and you want to, like, I like the picture of the pet, but I don't want to see all the background stuff around it, you can use the other apps to kind of just remove it and put it in either a fake background or really, really blur your background so you can't really see what it is. But like even the basic editing, like we've said multiple times, going into the Photos app, hit the auto button, see what happens. And you're not stuck with what it gives you. You can change the slider on the overall and change each individual thing if you want to give it a particular look that you want. So yeah,
Yeah.
just definitely don't get stuck with, you know, this is the photo I took. Well, it isn't, but there's still editing available.
Yeah, and it's basically it's creating works of art. Um,
Mhm.
you know, you posted a picture recently, Dave, like just a couple of days ago, and you're asking anybody that looked at it if they could say what it was.
Mhm.
I couldn't guess it, and I don't know if anybody else has guessed it yet or not, but was it a pet?
No.
Okay.
No.
Well, what the point I was making here is that you can do some of that stuff, like with the work that you do with Visionist and uh, Art Card and all these apps that are great for
Mhm.
creating digital works of art. You can take a pet photo and make it into something really really cool like that.
Yeah.
Um, I couldn't even imagine where you could go with a picture of one of your pets. Like
Oh, you can
it would
just
be
let
crazy.
yourself go creative. Let yourself go
Yeah,
creative. Because you like I said, like we've said multiple times, it's all matter of what you want to take, what you're trying to do with the photo.
yeah,
Like a basic, I don't want to say basic editor, but a Lightroom or Snapseed or the built-in or something like that. You can go for more photorealistic, where the apps like Visionist or Art Card or other apps like that, you're going for like an impressionist feeling. So you're
yeah.
getting completely away from what you're expecting. And I think, let me just pull this. This is the one you're referring to, right, Greg?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. Well, let me say what it is. Let me get the
Okay.
big reveal here. It's drops of sweat on concrete. It was after a run. I was on
I
the back
never
porch.
ever
Mhm.
would have guessed.
I was on the back porch after a run. I was sitting down, had my head down, sweating away, even though it was 8 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday. Uh,
Wow.
and I just noticed there was a pattern on the concrete, and I threw it in 3 or 4 different editors and different things to it, and it turned out, to me it almost looks like, maybe this is like a medical background I'm thinking of, but it almost looks like, you poked a hole, you have like a hole in something, you can see like the blood underneath it,
Oh
like a
yeah.
cut,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
because of
Yes.
the fiberish look of the red there. You can
Yeah.
see the like fiber, so it almost,
I thought one of my guesses was that it
or
was
so,
like the front windshield of the car in the car wash, and maybe you just kind
yeah.
of played around with the colors and textures and that. But yeah, that's just an example there of how you can take a pet photo and edit it into
Hmm.
something that it could look totally different
Oh
than the
yeah.
pet does, and it could be, um, the sky's the limit. The sky's the
Yeah.
limit when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah. And
Um,
honestly, just express yourself. If you think
yeah,
if you think you haven't if you think you've gone weird, go weirder.
yeah, yeah, really. And that kind of ties into the last part is keep it fun.
Yeah.
So it's not only fun with the editing, that's for the pet owner, but keep it fun for the pet too, because if they're happy and enjoying themselves, it's going to show through in the photos. So
Mhm.
you know, keep it fun for them. Don't force them to do anything that they don't want to do. If they don't feel like getting their picture taken, don't take it. You know, they'll let you know one way or another, with
Yeah.
body language or whatever. But yeah, keep it fun with them, and it goes back to the treats part. That's usually fun for them. So
Mhm.
so I hope these these tips help folks who enjoy taking pictures of their pets. There's people that do it as a profession, like my friend Cindy. Um, there's people that do it as a profession, but there's also people who just want to capture the moment, capture memories, and uh, just try to improve on them. And hopefully, some of these tips um, will help you with that. And we no, I can't think if there's well, we made 11 points here, and
Mhm.
I think I can honestly say I've probably tried every one of them at some point. Um, and I know by, focusing on the eyes makes for a better picture. Um, Live photos or burst mode can give you a lot of different options to get that
Don't
great
jump on
picture.
Leo.
There's a lot of different things that can be drawn out of these points to really help you with your pet photography. So, um, all right. Well, I guess we'll move on to. Oh, and by the way, I'll put the links to any apps that Dave mentioned in the show notes as well. So,
Mhm.
if anybody wants to know what they are and check them out, there's quite often there's free versions and with subscriptions or whatever. But even the free versions are pretty good. So, next we're going to go to our recent photos and. I've got yours queued up first, Dave. All three of yours. So um, we'll go to yours,
Okay.
and I'm just gonna pull them up here and get the window and there. And here's the
And
first one.
actually, while you were looking down, you missed the cat make walking across the keyboard.
I saw it out of the corner of my eye.
Oh, there's she going
Oh, can
after
you see
Rose.
that on your screen?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay, so this was taken at there's a local wrestling sorry school that actually puts on free shows. So the idea is that you have these wrestlers who are learning to become professionals. Most of these people do this; they're part time, and they put on the shows, and it's open to the public for. It's kind of like a dress rehearsal. Sorry about that. Okay, a little dry in my throat here.
No,
And this is one. First of all, it's amazing how close you can get because I was 6 feet away from the ring. I was very, very close. Sorry, Greg. Mm. And the next move here was this was actually a young the upside down kid. It's a young kid, probably within his first year of taking classes, and he's just about to become a pancake.
oh,
He was
really?
not dropped. He was not dropped on his head. He was not dropped straight down, but it was more the older guy with the beard kind of fell forward on top of the
Yeah,
kid underneath them, and I just the intensity in his face as he's holding him. The kids, I can say kid because I think he's in his. I think he's maybe 20. Just the way his hair's kind of frazzled out there, and just you can see him holding on, keeping him up. You can see the strain in his arms as he's about ready to pull the move off.
oh yeah,
And I mean, it was a fun night. I got a couple different photos, but this one just turned out the best.
yeah.
Um,
I seen
yeah.
your post on Facebook with a bunch of these, and
Mhm.
I couldn't get over how close you were. So, like, how
Oh
big
yeah.
was the venue?
Well, the rings I think is an 18 by 18-foot ring. And to the left, there's no room. You're pretty much against the wall. Behind you have maybe 3-4 feet behind because you can see the person behind the ring where he's standing in
Yep.
the striped shirt. There's not much room back there. Off on the right, where the blue wall is,
Yeah.
that's maybe 3 feet across. It's an old storefront. It's an old drugstore. And in front, there's more room, maybe another 15 feet in front. But I was maybe 2, 3 people deep. So this is a this is really close in that you can see here. So
Yeah.
it's fun. I mean, it's fun because if you think about it as violent theater, you
Yeah.
know, um, because this way they actually interact with the crowd. You know, the wrestlers will
Oh, yeah.
literally come out in the crowd. The way they
Oh,
come out
really?
is, oh yeah, yeah. The way they come out is behind, kind of across from where the screen is, across from where I took the picture, where there's something that looks like, I don't know how to describe it. The red wall on the bottom. Okay, that's where they come out, and they
Oh,
walk
okay,
around the
yeah.
ring right in front of us, and then up the stairs. So you're right there. And they'll be on the ring apron. Let's say if it's a tag team, so there's one person on the outside waiting, and they'll talk to they'll if it's a good guy, they'll try to get the crowd reacting, and if it's a bad guy, they'll talk trash to the crowd. you know and it's a great interactive. And the nice thing is afterwards, they're a lot of times, they're done. They're hanging out on the outside, just kind of winding down, talking to other people. It's very community theater feel.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Except that it's physical. It's very physical, but it's very community theater.
yeah.
You know?
And it's entertainment.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Literally the story being told here is a grizzled veteran, um, trying to see if the young kid has what it takes, kind of feeling
Yeah.
out this young kid and this grizzled veteran. And the grizzled veteran's probably in his mid 30s, but he's been
Oh,
wrestling
yeah,
for 15 years. So he's like,
yeah.
"Okay, kid, I'm gonna see if you have what it takes." And at the very end, there was this, like, "Okay, you know what? I beat you, but you gave it a good effort." And he shook his hand and said, "You did good," and all that. So I mean, there's a story told too, and along with the physicality and the jumps and the punches and the kicks and everything.
Yeah.
But it's fun. And also the nice thing is that's an old town that has seen better days. So the fact that they took over a closed storefront on the one of the main streets downtown New Kent, um, and it's now somewhere where something's happening, because not only do they have the shows that run, but they also have, like I said, they have the trainings that happen. So they keep it open for trainings and things are happening. And once a month, I think it's mostly during the summer, like on a Friday, they have like a big open street thing, and they have matches there, and they're a little bigger matches. So,
Right.
it's a way to give back to the community and help out.
Yeah. Well, the image itself it's kinda cool because you've actually balanced it out quite well, whether you've intended to do it or not, but you have a person in the foreground with, silhouetted, but
Mhm.
then you've got the 2 guys that are the subject, but then you got the guy at the back. It just kinda the way those guys that are watching, the way they're situated, it just balances the image out, and it's almost like they're all in a line, like, the 2 guys watching probably couldn't see each other because the wrestlers were right in the middle and in the way.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know, yeah, it's just well balanced, and for a shot taken at a sporting event like that, the lighting is pretty good too.
Yeah.
The phone picked it up really good. It didn't overexpose the guys, the wrestlers, and
Mhm.
and it just did you use your phone
I use mine.
Ruth's?
I use
Yeah?
mine. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
So I
well,
use mine. So this is like the 3x zoom. But
yeah, yeah,
still, like I said, there wasn't, and you can see there, the lighting was not easy to do because they had the different spotlights going on from different angles.
yeah, yeah,
So, you know, um, it, but it was, it turned out really good. It really did turn
It
out
did.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it did. Well, that's cool.
And
Uh,
when I posted it and tagged, I knew the one person, the older gentleman, trying to think of it, Brandon Saint James, I believe his name is. And
oh
I
yeah.
didn't know what the other person's name was because he's newer. But when I posted it, I tagged, 880 Wrestling, which was the name of the promotion, and posted him. And the guy said, "Hey, that's me."
Yeah.
I said, "Oh,
Yeah.
sorry, I didn't know your tag, but he said, "Oh, this is a great photo. No, I understand you didn't know me, but thanks so much. And that's a great photo you got of me."
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's cool when they can interact with you too, yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So the second one is I really like this one. This is
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, this was taken on a, Sunday run, and it was just a family fishing down by the river, and there's a walking trail that kind of follows down by, and I also did this was, I believe, in RNI um films app.
Yeah, because it has that film look to it.
Mhm. And that little bit of, I liked how it gave a little tealness to the sky. So it isn't it, of course, obviously sky was not teal, it was blue, but I just like the look of it, the flow of it, the you can see the family down below, you can see that they were fishing, but you have the kind of the sweeping green across the river and a little bit of the reflection in the water itself with the hills across the river. And
Yeah.
it was just and I like the fact that also clouds in the sky, so there's some texture there and the way it just looked. Um,
Yeah.
I just like the way it turned out there.
This would be amazing in the fall too. Um,
Yes, yes.
if you're ever down this way in the fall, it would be worth
Oh, yeah.
stopping to get another shot. Um, and I like the way that RNI rendered this.
Mhm,
It just has that nostalgic look to it. With the teal sky, and
mhm.
I could never get tired of looking at summertime pictures of the stick season. Ugh, they're
Yeah,
just
I know.
you know so boring. But it was nice that you were able to get this on a nice day, and having those kids in there fishing really gives it a sense of scale too. So that's a
Mhm.
big plus. If they weren't there, who knows how big it is, right? There's no
Exactly.
way of knowing, um, other than the fact that, okay, you can pretty well guess the size of the trees across the river, but it's nice to have a sense of scale, and it just the different layers of the image. You get the
Mhm,
foreground with the kids, and you got the river, and the trees, and the sky, even that kind of a hilly range in the back there on the left hand side.
mhm.
So with multiple layers
Yeah,
makes this.
and having that, and not just them on the bottom left, but having that little bit of grass right there that kinda anchors it.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Um, and we got Will Newcomb in the chat on YouTube,
Ooh.
uh, and he says it's overcast and 34 Celsius, so that's probably into the 90s Fahrenheit, I would
Oh,
think. Um, so we're glad you're with us, Will, and
yeah.
um, so yeah, so that's a great image. Oh, I gotta go here,
Nope.
and your next one
And
is
this
a
was
really good low angle.
yeah, this was actually taken again after a run. We noticed the pattern at
Yeah.
a track nearby. Um, so I just wanted to get because the reason a different texture on the track because it has that rubbery particulate in it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And so I just, literally got down the ground, put the phone on the ground as low as it can go. And I just wanted that view of the track kind of leading off. And I like the fact it also had the swings on the left. That's that red kind of arch and a little shelter there.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
my original hope was that random person would just kind of run in frame so
Yeah,
I could
yeah.
get the person. But as I'm looking, as I was finished and I looked around, I'm like, oh, there's no one here. There's or it's like, oh, the person who passed me up, then I started to walk after I was done. It's like, oh, and the only one around here, it may look creepy me trying to take a picture.
Yeah.
It's one thing to take almost a street scene
Yeah,
if you can blend in,
yeah.
but if I'm on my hands and knees down on the track looking at my phone, it's going to be weird. So now the sky here was not, um, it was more of a white sky.
Oh, yeah.
And this was not one of the ones in Photoshop camera.
Mhm.
These are just edits and changes to the color and maybe overdriving the color. It almost has that HDR look to it.
Yeah, yeah.
But just for whatever reason, the little bit of color was picked up that was in the sky and got that purple hue to it without really,
Yeah.
if you notice, the lines are still white, so it didn't mess up the white balance.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
just the sky just has like multiple shades of purple going on. So that is
That's
something
kinda
I
cool, yeah.
introduced.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really neat. I never really thought, if the sky was,
Mhm.
like that or if you had changed it or whatever. I was really taken by the track itself and, the just the low angle of it, and the bridge in the background actually caught my eye too.
Yeah. Well, that's also
So
the thing about, yeah, that was Lightroom Mobile that I did that in. But, like you said, having the multiple layers, when
yeah.
it comes to a photo, not just, "Here's my main subject," but, "Here's my main subject, here's maybe a little bit above, here's something that maybe isn't distracting from the main subject, but gives that depth, gives that extraness to the photo
Yeah,
per
yeah.
se."
Yep. Yeah, well, it's a cool shot. I like the low angle and just the texture of the track and, um, yeah, it's really, really neat. So we'll go to my first one,
Yeah.
and this one was one that I did, um,
Oh.
probably a couple of weeks ago. No, maybe about a week ago. I was out with my cousin, and, uh, just off the road, she found this spot not far from where she lives out in the country, and there was absolutely nothing in the way, um, of the sky and the Milky Way. Now there's light pollution there. There's, uh, some towns and whatnot,
Mhm.
out that way. Um, I think some of it could even be Toronto, even though it's like a 2.5 hour drive, but it's such a big city
Mm,
that it I think some of that glow could be from Toronto.
mm,
Um, but I thought, it'd be kind of cool to get my truck into this. And and so I had a little flashlight with me, and I just lit it up a little bit to get the grass lit up, and basically just put it in Lightroom Mobile and did the edit on it. Of
mm,
course, that's only part of the galactic core of the Milky Way. There's a lot of it below the horizon, and there's a little bit more of it that goes up out of the frame. But um, I just think it's uh, I thought it was kind of neat just to kind of get a picture of the truck. Well, of course, it's for the Instagram account for the truck's Instagram account too.
right.
Um, but I was just playing around. She was there with her DSLR, and
Mm.
actually, the one that I used to have when I sold my
Oh,
DSLR stuff,
okay.
she's the one that bought it. And so she was getting some pictures of the Milky Way, and she was, just thrilled by what she was capturing too.
Mhm,
Um, and but we, both of our vehicles were parked just off the road in heading into this field, but we didn't go into the field. It just, it's not our property. We didn't go on the property.
mm,
We were still on
okay.
just by the road. In fact, I probably had my phone set up on a tripod on the road. There was no traffic. It's out in the middle of nowhere.
Right,
Um,
especially that time of night too.
yeah, this was excuse me. This was probably around midnight that night. So, um, in fact, I'm going out again tonight in about an hour or so to
Mm.
give it another whirl. Um, the thing about tonight, though, is I can shoot the Milky Way looking kind of south, but if I do an about face, I should be able to hopefully see the aurora.
Oh, I was gonna say
Yeah,
The Perseid, meteor shower
that's a
is
possibility too.
yeah. I think
And you know what's
we're just past peak, but it should still be visible.
yeah. Yeah, I've got an app that'll show me where it is in the sky, so
Mhm,
maybe I'll see it.
and I know
Um,
that's north. That is north also.
yeah. What was really freaky is we were standing there talking that night, my cousin and I, and she looked up and she says, "What am I looking at?" And it was a line of lights, about 15 of them,
Oh.
just going ever so slowly across the
Mhm,
sky, and then all of a sudden, they just disappeared one by one, and it was Starlink satellites.
mhm.
Uh, I sent a picture of it to Shane Moston, and because he's on Starlink, and
Oh.
he's seen them over there time and again, I guess, and he says, "Yep, 100% Starlink satellites." So, I thought that was really cool. I'd never it freaked me out really because 'cause I'd never seen it before. But, anyway, yeah, so that's a Milky Way shot with
Well, and
my
Greg, let me say that I was kind of guessing you were using light painting, to get the
Mhm.
truck lit up. It just wasn't like a shot with the camera, which
Yeah.
you have to do kinda do that, but
Yeah.
it almost looks and take this the best way possible, it almost looks fake. Yeah, just because the light on the truck is good enough and the sky has that look, I shouldn't say fake, but composite. It almost looks like you would have the
Oh,
picture
yeah.
of the ground and then picture of the sky, and they're 2 separate photos you put together, not shot them at the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
Or
Yeah, no,
you did a shot and then you threw the Milky Way in there with an app.
yeah. Um, well, when we had Dale Lotherington on, he talked about
Mhm.
doing that very thing,
Yeah.
with some of his images, and he always discloses it that it's a composite
Oh,
or
yeah.
whatever, but, no, if I didn't use the flashlight on the truck and on that grass, that just would have been black,
Right,
just
right.
completely black, so because there was no lights around us anywhere,
Mhm.
and that's what made this so fun, and, I'll probably give it another try tonight, to see what I can get.
Yeah.
So my next one
Mm.
is sunflowers for days.
Wow.
Uh, this is there's a sunflower farm out. Actually, it's not far from my parents' place,
Hmm.
and excuse me. Last year they had about 250,000 sunflowers. This year it's over 300,000. And what they do is when they grow them, they have a path that's probably about 4 or 5 feet wide that just goes out and around through the field, and then they have a shorter route and they have a longer route, and you can just take a walk. They call it the sunflower walk, and just enjoy the sunflowers. They're only they're only in bloom for a couple of weeks in August. Hopefully, they'll be still be there next weekend when I get off work and I can get out there. I'd like to be out there around sunset to get them in the nice warm light, and hopefully, if there's a few clouds, that's fine. But I think it's just a really really cool place to go for a walk, and they you could take your dogs in as long as they're on a leash, and it's even though it's a dirt path, it's smooth enough that you can actually take a wheelchair through there if you needed to. Um, it's really cool, and they got a couple of different things set up. Um, they got a little bench, I think it is, with a big picture frame, so you could put the picture frame around you, and maybe get up by a flower or something like that and get your take your own picture, and it looks like you're in a frame type of thing. It's just a really really cool place to go see, and I think it costs $6 to go in and take the walk through, but it's worth it. It's worth every penny. Um, I'm hoping to get back again.
Yeah, that's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, especially doing this as a crop. Yeah, it may not have been a panoramic shot, but just cropped widescreen like this.
Yeah, yeah, it was
It's just
cropped.
perfect to show the width.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I took this with the main camera, so it was 48 megapixels, so that allowed me to do the crop and still keep a lot of the detail in it, and yeah, it's a really cool place.
Mhm.
And speaking of sunflowers, I've got to put a macro shot in.
Of course.
So what's really cool to me about this one is the fact that I wasn't intending to get this bee in the shot. This was with a Reflex G series long range macro, and the bee just flew into the frame just as I took the shot.
Wow.
And luck has it that the the area right around the front legs there is actually kind of sharp and in focus,
Mhm.
and then it gets a little out of focus as it comes back to the back. And then of course these petals or whatever they are,
Mhm.
um, not the petals, but well, actually, yeah, some of the petals are a little sharp,
Yeah.
but I don't know. It just seemed to work.
Oh, it works
S-
perfectly. It works
yeah,
perfectly.
so I cropped it obviously down to I think that's 16:9,
Mhm.
and I I wanted the bee to be kind of on the one third line, like the front of the bee as
Mhm.
it's heading in, about one third of the way in, and then one third of the way down from the top to try to make for a good composition, and just the way the crop worked. But um, what did I do? I think Lightroom Mobile. I think I did the edit,
Okay.
or wait, it might have been Affinity Photo
Hmm.
on the Mac. I can't remember. Because I've been doing that a lot lately as I've been editing on the Mac with Affinity, but yeah, I was just really thrilled when I saw this picture after. I didn't even know until I got home that I got this shot,
Mm.
because it when I took the shot, I didn't see the bee. I didn't see the bee at all. I was just,
Mm.
what I was watching was where these things are here in the frame on the flower that are actually sharp. I was watching the focus peaking on the
Mm.
app, on the camera app,
Okay, so you
because I
were
shot it with
paying
reflex.
attention
Yeah, I
to the
was
bee
paying
itself.
attention to the focusing and making sure I got what I wanted to be sharp. And boy, what timing
Yeah.
to have that bee fly in like that.
And you know what? Having the flower behind the bee be blurry
Yeah.
really helps the bee stick out because outside a little bit of the sky in the background, everything's basically black and yellow,
Yep. Yeah.
but it still sticks out because of the focus. And
Yeah.
if people zoom into the image of the bee itself, just seeing the individual hairs on the bee
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
just absolutely crazy. You know, it actually almost looks three-dimensional.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. I think someone even joked that it was fake. But I can assure you it's not. I have the raw file. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, because I mean, it looks like I could have put the B on afterwards or whatever, but um, yeah, it's crazy. It was I was just thrilled when I saw this shot. Um, well, that's our
Mhm.
recent photos, and I think before we close the show, I think what we'll do is we'll just kind of go
Well,
into the chat room here on
yeah,
YouTube.
about to say, we'd have a good amount of people pop in the chat. We always
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah, so Will Newcomb said, "Chatting with you guys feels like community. Here in China, I don't have anyone to talk to about photography."
Mm.
Well, that's the mobile photography community, I think, is just uh one of the best there is. Um, I mean, I'm sure there's different communities about different things, but I'm not in many others that do with anything like that. But the mobile photography communities that I am in, whether it's our own Facebook group, Shane Mostyn's group,
Mhm,
um, there's a few different groups I'm in on Facebook. Uh, Everybody is just so fun to be around and talk with and
mhm,
everything else. So Will, we're glad to have you. you know, um, it's just so much fun to. It's really good when you get like-minded individuals that can share. And I always
mhm.
say, teach what you know and share, or teach what you know and learn what you don't. And I mean, hey, I'm still learning stuff all the time
Oh,
too.
yeah.
So,
Yeah, we I think you never really stop learning.
oh heck no, no. Um, so let's see, Gary, Gary the ADHD guy, my life with a camera. I personally like to photograph my dogs covertly on their runs at home. I like using available light. Best photos are the ones not posed.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's we touched on that. I think when they're just being themselves, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Acting naturally in that.
And
And you
that's
know who?
part of with timing and, patience.
Yeah, 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 for sure. And you know who does a really cool job at that? And I want to hope that he uses his iPhone to do this. I'm pretty sure he does, but I know he uses a bigger camera too. And that's Scott Baker. He's
Mm,
got his
okay.
dog Rosie, who she just runs like lightning, like lightning. And but he posted a video of him laying on the ground, and the dog literally just jumped over him, and he got a shot of the dog in the air as she was
Mm,
approaching him, and I thought that was so cool. So that's probably the kind of stuff that Gary does is,
mhm.
the dogs running around, you can get them coming straight for you. I tried it with our little dog. She was running around the yard, but she's so small. I have to be literally right in the grass on the ground to get get her shot of her running towards me because she's not that far up in the air. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. And Gary also says doing wildlife photography taught me skills to apply when photographing dogs. So yeah, that makes sense.
Mhm.
Um, an animal's an animal. Whether it's domestic or wild or whatever. Uh, Dave, have you ever been to a zoo?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So you've captured, the wildlife at the zoo.
Mhm,
I mean, it's still wildlife, I guess, but even though it's not in the wild, but um, it's some of those things that you do when you're taking pictures of your pets can be applied to
mhm.
wild animals.
Yeah, I mean, admittedly, in the zoo or other, let's say, wild animals in the wild, you probably won't be able to get as close or get to the right pose.
Yeah.
Or like say in a zoo or something like that, they normally have, it's harder to get that shot, even though they try to get the area set up for maximum visibility, but a lot of times the animals just don't want to be there.
Yeah, yeah,
Where,
right.
so that actually making it a little bit harder can kind of help out sometimes, I guess, when you're, dealing with something that can be just right next to you.
Yeah, yeah. Todd Weiner just joined us. He just got home and jumped on. Good evening. Glad you could make it, Todd.
Yep.
Um, and so finally, Will says, focus peaking. I've not had too much success with it since too much is highlighted as in focus. Any advice? So, okay, so for anybody that doesn't know what focus peaking is, it's uh, it's a feature in a lot of camera apps like Reflex, Halide, Pro Camera, Camera M. A lot of these big players have this feature in it where if you turn it on, there's a color. Quite often it's green, and Reflex it's green. Um, it highlights the edges of different things in the scene where the if the highlighted line, the bigger the line, the sharper the focus.
Mhm.
The smaller the line, the further back it is in focus. So Will, if you're having trouble with this, it could be just that for one, there's too much stuff in the scene that's going to be in focus. Um, I'm sure if you say if you took a picture of a building or a tree, and just make sure that the tree is the only thing that's really highlighted in green, kind of make some separation between your subject and the background or the foreground. That's an easier way to assure yourself that what you want in focus is going to be in focus. Um, I would say just very slowly you manually focus and or it's move back and forth, depends on what's easier. But just do it slowly and just watch what comes up in the thicker highlight, because I think that's what's going to be the sharper focus, and just kind of play around with it. It's a little awkward to use, I think, at first, but I think just practicing, I think, is probably the best way to get some success with it. So um, just play around with it and see. Um, what do we got here? Todd Weiner says, "Greg, Mr. Macro, how are you finding? Are you finding that you are still using the reflex lens for macro, or is it simpler to shoot with the native camera app? I may have missed the answer to this because of the B." So I didn't talk about the native camera app. I will say that I put in where was it? It was a comment I made somewhere where someone said something about using a lens compared to using just the camera app and the focus or the macro feature. And I will say without a doubt, you will always get a better image with a lens on the camera as
Mhm.
opposed to using the macro feature in the phone. The macro feature in the phone's great in a pinch, but if you have a lens, use it, because the difference is the macro function in the phone will um forgot to stop sharing that. Okay, there. Hopefully that hasn't been in the way. Um,
No.
the macro function of the iPhone gets nice and close, but it always looks over processed, and it doesn't do a. I mean, it's getting better with every iPhone. It started with the 13 Pro, right, Dave?
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
macro?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it gets better with every iPhone. I noticed an improvement between the 14 Pro Max and the 15
Mhm.
Pro Max. I only had my 14 Pro Max for about a week, and then I sent it back to Apple on the trade-in. So I didn't get a chance to really test it a whole lot, but the the macro in the iPhone, it's trying to sharpen too many things. You don't have that softness that goes, you don't have that real shallow depth of field that makes for a much better macro image.
Mhm.
So, um, yeah, always, if you can, always use a lens as opposed to the native
Mhm.
camera app. I mean, you could shoot with the native camera app, but the other thing is too, macro in the iPhone, even the 15 Pro, Pro Max, does not give you a 48 megapixel shot. That picture of the bee was a 48 megapixel shot because I used the main camera with the
Mm.
macro lens on the camera, and I was able to crop it down. But I mean, I can blow that thing up. I could probably blow that thing up to be 5 feet across and still have a decent picture
Right.
because of
Now
the pixel size.
that is one of the rumors for the 16 that's due out in a month or so, is
Yep.
that the point 0.5 ultra wide will be a 48 megapixel
Mhm.
with the pros.
And that would be very interesting. It'll
Yeah.
be really interesting to see how the macro looks on that too. Um, but yeah,
Because sometimes you can't get around physics.
no, that's right. Yeah. Dale Otherington's in the house. He's late. Dang. Well, that's okay, Dale. You made it. um, And Dale also says, with phone cameras on the 15 and above, do you really need lenses? I stopped using my telly on the 15 as it made it way too soft and unusable. Uh, you know what? I got the G series from Reflex for the wide and the telephoto, and they're pretty good. Um, you you can't put it on the 5X on the iPhone
Hmm.
because it's not made for that. It's designed to go over the main camera, um, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's the best I've ever used. It's the best I've ever seen. Um, and spoiler alert, I'm hoping to find out what Moment has to offer shortly. I'm hopefully gonna get my hands on some Moment lenses.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's you know, I I I'm at the point where I don't like recommending to people buying lenses because when you pay all that money for a lens, then the next phone comes out, then you might have some compatibility issues.
Right.
I
I mean,
can say that
unless you're like Will, who's waiting for his 16 Pro Max and waited 4 years,
yes.
or
Yeah,
like
yeah, for
me,
sure.
I'm going off a 13, so you figure the 14 to 15 to say it's basically 3 years. It's almost 3 years for me,
Yeah.
and the plan is for me to get a new phone this year, but I really want to see if it's going to make that much of a difference. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, it's going to be a difference just because of the amount of years difference between the two.
Mhm, yeah.
But you know, we're already seeing, of course, rumors for the 2025s,
Yeah.
and I'm kind of curious to see if they're going to. I don't think they're going to step above the 5X this year. The rumor is that non the regular Pro will have a
Yeah.
5X lens. That's why it's getting bigger. And the Pro Max is getting bigger because they want to have a size difference.
I heard that they could be going to, I think it's something like an 18 times.
Optical?
I think so.
Ooh.
Either that or it's gonna use AI, I'm not sure.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
mean, don't even quote me on that
Oh
because, I
no,
mean,
no.
at this point, when it comes to the 2025 models, it's
Right. Oh yeah,
completely,
yeah, yeah. I
you
meant
know
24 though. I meant the ones coming out in a month.
Oh,
Basically they're going to bump up the size of the Pro, the regular Pro, so they can put the
yeah,
5X in, the 5X lens in. But
right.
because then all of a sudden it would turn to 6.3 to 6.7, and they want to have a size difference, they're going to make the Pro Max 6.9 inches.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Um,
that, but the phone itself won't be that much bigger. Getting
yeah,
rid of more
the
border and everything else, it'll make it a
yeah,
little
the
bit
Pro
bigger.
Max, I think, is gonna be, like, 0.2 inches bigger
Right, right.
or
And
something
so
like
will
that,
the
so
so will the Pro non-max. But
yeah, yeah.
it's almost getting to iPad mini size.
It's what, sorry?
It's almost iPad mini size. It's getting closer to
Oh,
iPad
yeah.
mini,
Yeah, yeah.
which is 7.9.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
we're
it's
getting
it's
we're
getting
getting
crazy.
really close, especially if we all remember starting back at 3.5 inches.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, like, the the width of the phone now used to is the same size almost as what the length of the phone used to be
Mhm.
back in the day. Um, and, Dale says, 10 times that, 5X Telly will be, wait for it, 2 times better. And 2 times more incredible, right, Dale?
Mhm.
Uh, and so Will says, we'll finish up with this one here. Will says, "I
Yep.
doubt the 16 Pro Max Telly will change. Apple likes to keep lenses for a few
Yeah.
years, before upgrades." Yeah, that's quite possible. Y it's who knows? Every year we think they're gonna do something, and then they don't. So it's
And honestly,
so hard to tell.
Yeah, and this year's big effort's going to be AI.
Oh yeah, yeah,
That's where the engineering resources is. And the thing to remember, Apple is literally one of the largest companies in the world by stock size, but not by employee size.
right, right,
So if they want to focus on something software related and resource related, they can't do five things at once. They can do a
yeah,
major impact here.
yeah,
And the 2025, they're already doing heavy major engineering work on already.
yeah,
So they can't,
yep,
just because of the size of the company, they didn't expand like a lot of companies did in 2020, like Google and Microsoft did, which are now laying off massive amounts of employees because they overexpanded. Apple didn't do that.
yeah, yeah,
Um, so, like I said, their big focus is AI. Who knows? And I know, like, you have the beta, you have the developer
hmm
beta, you're playing around with that, and it's working. And as far as I can tell, it's exceptionally stable. I have not
it's
seen
it's
major complaints.
pretty good.
Yeah.
It is. It's pretty
The
good.
biggest complaint is people saying how Siri isn't better yet. When is Siri getting better? It's not better yet.
Yeah, it's yeah. Yeah, they haven't put all the good stuff in the beta
Right.
yet.
Right.
Now in just real quick here before we finish up with Safari in the latest beta update. So this is my website. I'll use my website that way I can't get into trouble. There's a thing called um, hide.
Okay.
What is it? Hide distracting items.
Oh.
Right in that little pop up.
Mm-hmm.
So if I tap that and then I tap say this and then hit hide,
Okay.
woo, away it
Oh.
goes. So that works with ads. That works with a lot of different
Hmm.
components of a web page. Um, it I've only that's only the second time I've done it. That update came
Yeah.
today. So and actually it was basically around supper time I think for me. So I haven't had a chance to play with that too much to see how far I could take that. But but that's one of the things they do. That's not really AI related, but it's just a cool feature of
Yeah.
the beta. And that kind of thing should probably work in the older phones because I don't think it's AI. If it's AI, I don't know. I don't think it is, but
Yeah.
um, it's it is. It's fairly stable. And you know what? I am on the beta on my watch, my iPhone, and
Mm.
the Mac that is recording this episode and broadcasting it to YouTube. I am on the latest beta update. That's how much faith I have in the fact that they're stable enough to use. I don't recommend that
Nope.
people do that with a production machine. Um,
I wouldn't even
worst case
recommend on
scenario
your
that
phone.
if
I wouldn't recommend
yeah,
it on I mean, on your watch. I'm sorry, on your watch, because there's not an easy way to go back.
well, with the watch, you can't go back unless you,
That's what I'm saying.
um, yeah, you can jump off the beta once the iOS or once WatchOS 11 is released. Then you can just say, okay, stop getting beta updates, and then you'll be on the release candidate and just get the normal updates. Um, but with the Mac version, uh, it's solid. It's pretty solid, and it's got some of the AI built into it now too.
Mm.
Like the writing tools and things like that you might have heard
Hmm.
about. But anyway, I've got to get ready to go shoot some stars.
Sounds
So
good.
we'll tie it off here, and I want to thank everybody for watching us on YouTube and playing along. And we're glad to have you. We
Hmm.
hope that some of our pet photography tips will be helpful. And I guess on that note, Dave, we'll see everybody in the next one.
Have a great week, everyone.